Hey guys, how are you? Okay, I heard back from a few more guy friends with their answers to my question that I had originally asked, which was what one in particular, if you had to pick only one quality or thing about a woman that you want in particular in a relationship, in a long-term relationship or a marriage, you know what I'm saying, a mother, a wife, okay? And anyway, I asked a bunch of different guy friends and all different ages, people I know, stuff like that. So the answers have been coming back in slowly. I only got a couple more that I'm waiting on. I actually heard back, one thing that I heard back from actually three different guys was about, in particular, women staying in their femininity. Like, that was something that they really looked for. In fact, let me read one of them. Specifically, staying feminine and cooperating with your man or your significant other, your husband. And basically about that, like how that actually, what that actually looks like, I guess, in everyday life. Okay, I am myself, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm some sort of like guru or, you know, I'm perfect with this, or that I have not been guilty by any means, okay, of jumping out of my femininity. It definitely happens, okay? So I'm just going to share my experiences, my personal thoughts, and just because it's something to talk about, it's something to think about, right? And that is the reason why I'm going to address it or talk about it from my perspective, okay? You can maybe glean something or take something from this and make it your own, okay? Now, first things first, when a guy, and I had a couple guys that actually basically said the same basic thing, that answered in this way. Basically, they're wanting their woman to go along with the plan or understand the plan, or basically allow the man to lead. Okay? Now, I am probably talking to a bunch of different type of women and men who are probably all variations between Christian and not Christian. You know, maybe you know God, maybe you don't know God, maybe you're into that, maybe you're not. I would say that it's probably easier to talk to a Christian woman, or a woman who at least desires to have God's blessing in her life. It's probably a little bit easier to talk to that woman, as she probably understands headship, okay? But because a lot of people are not Christians or not into, you know, God or whatever, and maybe they weren't raised that way, it's hard for women to come by that. It really is. It's hard for women to come by that. And you can understand, right? So, I'm going to try to talk in the best way that I can, as if you're not Christian. Okay? As if you're not going to take your woman to the Bible. Take her to God, or, you know, take her to the altar and pray, right? Okay? If we're not going to do any of that, okay? I need men to understand, because this came back to me several times. The first thing, or my very first thought is, what is he doing to create that safe space for her to be able to trust him to take the lead? Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking, like, oh, I'm not doing anything, I'm trustworthy, I am, you know, I take the lead, or whatever. She doesn't ever, okay. I am sure if you sit both man and woman down in a relationship, and you ask them the question, what could he do to help you to want to follow his lead? You know, I'm sure she probably has a whole list. She probably has like 1,000,001 things for him to change, right? And if you ask him the same question, what could she do to better to be a better team player in the house or whatever. He probably has a whole list too. So now, with that, the best way to respond, or the best way to look at that situation, right, is to control yourself. Okay? So if you're the man here, I'm going to give you some things that I feel like I have experienced and some things that I know would help me as a woman. If you're a woman, then you need to look at yourself, and I'm going to tell you the things that I do for myself that help me to stay in that lane. Because if you are born a female and you are a woman, right, and you have female parts, that means you have a lot of estrogen that is flowing through your body, okay? And that flow of hormones and that cycle literally goes up and down. And as a woman, we know this. We know this. When we see a woman kind of going off or whatever, we're probably thinking like it may be that time of the month. Or we might be thinking she didn't get enough sleep, or she is just whatever, right? Not to be like that's an excuse, but we also just know, don't test us on certain times of the month. Like, just don't do it. Don't test us on certain times of the month. It's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for nobody, right? Obviously, when we know our cycles and we know our flow, okay, I know for a fact for myself, I actually took notes in my, this was years and years ago, but I actually came to see that I always wanted to kill my husband. You know, not really, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I always wanted to leave, break up, or get rid of him, or, you know, whatever. A fight always happened. For me, it was every other month, though. It wasn't actually just every month. I mean, I might have been a little bit moody around that time of the month, but what I noticed is, like, every other month, I was actually worse off than one. And what it actually was for me, okay, as a woman or whatever, I'm sharing this with other women, on my right side ovary, I actually had a cyst. And I suffered more severe menstrual cycle and symptoms on whenever it was that side month. So, you know, every other month we are spitting from one side or the other, okay? Unless you're spitting double, so sometimes that does happen, which, whew, that's a lot to deal with. But in any case, I noticed that I was more mean on my right side month, okay? It just was. I just started to notice it was a pattern that I started to notice. You have to, if you take note of every time you get into a fight or an argument with your boyfriend, your man, or your husband, or whatever, and you start to notice that it literally corresponds to the few days before your cycle begins, that's called PMS. That is the epitome of PMS. That is PMS, okay? So when you know you're approaching your pre-menstrual cycle, which is PMS, okay, which is like the few days before you actually start, you're going to be more hormonal. And it is really best that you not take yourself too seriously, and you also don't take him very seriously. like whatever the issue is, just say to yourself, like, no, I'm going to revisit this angry state or this thing that's aggravating me that he's doing. He's saying, I'm going to revisit this later. Because right now I can tell I'm going to be a little bit extra. Okay? And I think we all could kind of, if we're admit to ourselves and if we're honest with ourselves, we can tell when we're a little bit extra. I definitely know when I'm feeling that way. Okay, so now take that. Now the next thing. Okay, and basically, for as a man, you should just understand. You should understand, like, this is not the time of the month that I should be testing her. I shouldn't be acting stupid around PMS time. Like, I actually should probably let her relax a little bit. Maybe I'll cook dinner. Maybe I'll go get dinner. I'll take the kids. Or, let me pay for a massage. Let me let her go get a massage. Let me massage her. Better yet, let me rub her feet. Let me put her bath on or whatever. But you're just a little bit more softer around when you know that she's approaching that time of the month, because she's going to need, emotionally and mentally, she's already a little bit more sensitive, and it would really help him, okay, to understand that, to know, oh, this is the time that I should just be a little bit more aware of her emotional state and her needs, and not test her, not try her, and not start arguments, not start fights, okay? And for me personally, one thing I did in my first marriage with my first husband is I absolutely gave him my cycle calendar, so he knew. He knew, okay? And that helped him tremendously to know basically when he could wild out. Okay, anyway, so that's one thing right there. Now, as far as actually staying in your femininity when you're in a relationship with a man, we know, or maybe you know, maybe you don't know. This is something you can totally research, and I definitely recommend, if you're a woman, to take time to research this, to understand this, and to be okay with this. As a man is called to lead, protect, provide, and conquer. Conquest or conquer. These are the things that he is called to do as a man. Okay, he is supposed to take the lead. That is naturally what he wants to do. That's naturally how it should be. When you say, or when you hear someone say, you're emasculating him, or you are emasculating that man, or you are a mother who emasculates your child, more than likely you don't mean to be doing that. But what does that mean when you're emasculating a man? When you are going against his natural desire to lead, when you're going against his natural desire to conquest. Like, men are naturally very competitive, right? If you just look at sports in general, men are just extremely competitive. I mean, not even the ones who are playing the sports. I mean, the guys who are watching the sports, look how competitive they get. I mean, I know women can get that way too, but really, truly look at it. Look how it is. Men are so competitive when their team wins, when their team or whatever, and what they call their boys, yo, did you see that? Blah, 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 and they're just competitive with each other. You know how they are. They throwing bets or whatever. Okay, men are just naturally that way. And if you are constantly, as a woman, downplaying him, or, going against what are natural desires in men. Naturally, a man naturally wants to protect and provide for his family. Usually he wants to have children, and he wants to go out there and basically conquer the world. Okay, like if you're a mom and you have a boy, you have boys, or like I did, you're gonna understand that they're naturally going to want to go out in the world and kind of sow their oats and create their own kingdom. Okay, their own little kingdom. And the thing about it is that they don't want a woman who is going to go against kind of like what they have in mind, or how they see themselves in their own kingdom. Okay, in their own world, right? How they see them, how they do what they do, how they provide, how they protect. Now, again, this is definitely, the time to figure a lot of this stuff out is when you're dating, before you get married, right? Going against, let's say, if the man wants to, I'm going to give you an example, okay? My dad was a firefighter, and he was a very good firefighter. He was the first black lieutenant of Maitland Fire Department in Florida. I'm very proud of him. Growing up, though, our family was like literally the family who literally had practiced fire drills. Like, for real. And we had a small house. I was raised, first of all, we were raised very humble. My parents, before my dad became a firefighter and everything, we struggled financially. And I knew about it because I was, I was young. My mom had me young, so I was there. I saw all of it. So we struggled financially or whatever. But then when we bought the house, my parents bought the house, it was a small house. It wasn't like we had 15 million doors that we could leave out of the house, or we had all these windows we could jump out of. But it did not matter. It did not matter. When I say my dad created the plan of how we would exit, and we would practice, and we would have these fire drills where he would just sound the alarm or whatever, and we had to go do and literally stop, drop, and roll and meet out on the sidewalk. Okay, now I'm just saying, like, this was for real what my dad did. Now, a lot of people, sorry, somebody was pulling up behind me. I was just checking it out. Okay, so this was my dad's plan. This was how he wanted to run his household, okay? My mom went along with it, of course, and encouraged it and supported him. And we did it. Like, we had to follow. But if my mom wanted to completely go against my dad and go against what he was wanting to do, or was like, every time he wanted us to practice, if she started rolling her eyes and making all the sounds and grinding her teeth and just being like, oh my God, we got to do this again, blah, 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 blah. This is so dumb. This is stupid or whatever. Or made my dad feel bad about that. That would be considered usurping his authority. Okay. That would be an example of usurping his authority or going against what I'm sorry, there's somebody pulled in behind me and he has his phone up. Like I don't know what he's doing. I don't like that. Okay, see, protection. Protection is one thing in particular. I know this is something I look for in a man. The number one thing I look for in a man is protection. And also, so, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. In one of my relationships, the man is called to protect, right? So one of my relationships, this man did not like to open the windows, the curtains for anything. And this was a way that he created protection. And this is hard for me because I like sunlight. I thrive off of sunlight. So we tend to argue about that, right? Now, you can go back and forth with your man in front of the kids, or you can wait and hold off and do it when the kids are gone, not in front of the kids. Okay, so one way to stay in your feminine, okay, is to allow that man to guide and lead the family as he sees fit. Now, you can still have a voice, okay? You can still have your say in what you feel is, like, for example, I definitely had my say when it came to opening up the windows because I was like, I can't be in this house without no sunlight. This is not going to work for me, right? But you can either say it at the top of your voice and scream and yell, or get aggravated, or have all this type of attitude, or you can voice your opinion, use your words. This is like I tell my boys, the boys now, but I used to tell my boys when they were younger. But like you tell children, when they get mad and they stomp their feet and they start throwing things or whatever and they have a fit. No, what do you say? You say, use your voice, use your words. I want to hear what's wrong with you. I want you to use your words, right? So it's the same thing as a woman, right? Okay, we can say, listen, honey, thank you. I can appreciate that you want to protect the family. I can appreciate that you want to, protect our assets and the things that we got going on in the house or whatever, but I need sunlight. And it's vital to my mental health that I have sunlight. So I'm going to need to be able to open up these windows and these curtains at least a certain time of the day. Every day. Can we please, or let's figure out which curtains can we open, which window where people aren't looking in or whatever. Anyway, so we had to come to an agreement on that. Now, especially if you have kids, you don't want to undermine and contradict. If he says we're going right and you're like, no, we're going left. Now, again, this is easier to do when you have somebody who you naturally are compatible with. When you are naturally compatible with that man that you're with, this is so much easier to do. Okay? When you're with somebody who you're really just naturally not compatible with, this is hard to do. Because you'll come off as complaining or being critical or criticizing, right? It's actually mental gymnastics is what it really is. When you are, let's say, you're just not really compatible. And so it's always a constant state of like going, he wants to go left, you want to go right or whatever. And you're having to mentally watch your words, making sure that your words reflect your knowledge of his desire to protect, provide, lead, whatever. Okay. And then you have to say it in a way that you're not screaming at the top of your lungs, or you're not just irritating or jabbing or snapping back. Right. And so to just say, honey, I appreciate, okay, it takes practice. This takes a lot of practice. And if you have to do this all the time because you're not compatible, I'm going to tell you right now, that's mental gymnastics, and you're going to wear yourself out. And eventually what's going to happen is you are going to basically burn out. Okay. As a woman, I'm just keeping it real. You will burn out. Okay. I experienced this. Because I am a woman who does, by the time I hit my second marriage, I know this stuff. I experienced this with my first husband. I studied this. Okay. In my first awakening, I had my come to Jesus moment, and God sat me down and said, you look in the mirror, I need you to fix this, this, and this, and this. And I did a lot. and I understood a lot, right? But definitely in my second marriage, the compatibility, there was issues there. We had a hard time because naturally we were butting heads naturally. And so this eventually will lead to burnout on one person's side or the other, okay? Because you're doing a lot of mental gymnastics, okay? And if you have to do mental gymnastics, you're going to end up coming out of your feminine energy, and that's not what you want. Remember, if you have to, as a woman, if you can try to keep in your mind what feminine energy looks like, I'm going to put it to you as a picture. What feminine energy looks like is if you're a mom and if you had a boy or a baby, it doesn't really matter. If you just, when you first have your first child, your first baby, and when you hold that baby, right? Maybe you nurse, maybe you don't, or whatever, but as soon as that baby goes, and this is your first child, and that baby cries, and you're like, and you're like, oh, what? And right away, you are all about nurturing that child. If you're a mom and you know what I'm talking about, especially with your first, but you will be this way with all your children, really. As a mom, we tend to have a very, very, very strong connection with our baby. I'm talking about, we know when the baby is going to cry, before the baby cries, right? Your body can feel it. You can kind of tell, you just know you have a strong connection, right? And you're like, oh, it's like you instantly want to kiss the boo-boos or help whatever is going on, wherever he's crying, change the diaper. If he's, if he wants to nurse, he's hungry or whatever, feed him or whatever, right? But when you're holding that baby and you're looking down, right? And in that moment when you're looking down at him or her, whatever. I had 2 boys, so I always say him. But, and you're feeding him, right? There's a moment where you're usually having eye contact with your baby. Baby is looking at you and you're looking at him. Hopefully you got to experience this as a child. But during this transaction, during this time, right? During this particular time, you're bonding. You're what we call bonding, right? This bond is a very, very, very strong bond. And what you are basically saying to the child without using words, but what you are emitting or what you're saying in your connection, how do I say this? What you are non-verbally saying to the baby is, I love you. I'm here for you. I want to encourage you. I'm going to watch you grow up. I'm going to take care of you. It's all these loving things, right, that you're thinking. You might even be thinking about what he's going to be like when he grows up, or especially your first, right? You're just in love with your first. You're enamored. You are enamored with your, okay, that right there embodies, I would say, in my opinion, if I have to put it as a mental picture of feminine energy at its best, right? Mother to child. If you haven't experienced that yet, okay, you probably played dollies as a child, and if you are the oldest, maybe you have a little brother, a little sister, whatever, and you have to kind of look out for them, whatever, and you are, kind of wanting to naturally nurture and protect your younger brother and sister. Maybe you have that, maybe you don't. Maybe you've experienced that, maybe you haven't. But you will at some point. But there is that natural feeling of that comes on, and I would say even if you've never birthed a child, it doesn't matter. If you, as a woman, it could be, just imagine how you would feel if somebody dropped a baby off at your front door, right? Just get, how people back in the old days, I guess they used to, that's how you adopted a child, basically. People would drop babies off at your front door or whatever. Imagine how you would feel, right? Immediately to see a helpless child who can't care for themselves to do anything, right? You go into nurture, take care of, love, protect, watch over. This is my baby. Me and him, we are at one, right? You just have that feeling, right? And then you just have this innate desire inside of you to make sure that that child and everything, they got all their needs cared for, right? That happens naturally, right? That is nurturing at its finest. Now, as far as your man goes, right? Remember, his first experience with a woman was his mother. Hopefully it was a good one. You never know what you're getting, okay? But you can hope. All you can do is hope that it was a good one. Hopefully he got nursed enough as a child, or, got enough nurturing from his mother. But his first person that he fell in love with as a child, when he looked up, he saw his mother, whoever that mother was, whether it was really his grandmother, an aunt, or caretaker, whoever it was, that woman represents to him love and nurturing. This is why men tend to be attracted to women who are similar to their mother, or who have similar traits. Okay, so remember that this is how a man sees a woman to be, or at least what in his mind he thinks a woman to be. Now I'm going to put this into flat, frank terms that I think, this is my personal perspective and what I have noticed and what I've seen in men myself. Men love when you can show respect and be respectful, okay? Be nurturing and loving, especially in public, but in general, when you are not in the bedroom. When you are not in the bedroom, and wherever you're at, in front of his friends, if you go to church or whatever, there's that saying, what is it? Oh, now I forgot it. Something. Oh, a lady in the streets and a freak in the bed. Okay. So basically that's it in a nutshell. He wants nurturing, loving, and a soft place for him to land when he comes home every day from work, or whenever, and when he calls you or whatever, and that you are loving and kind and nurturing, welcoming, and softening your tone. Yeah, those are the things. He wants that during the day, or especially, when I say during the day, meaning in front of people, in public, or whatever, when you're not in the bed. Okay? And then the minute you get in the bed, he wants a different person. Okay? That's what I've been told. That's what I have noticed. That's what I can see. That's what I've experienced. And you should, as a woman, understand a man's physical makeup is different than a woman's physical makeup, and their testosterone levels. And their levels rise, especially when a man is in his peak. I would say, well, every man's age is different. But most men, their testosterone peaks in the morning. Every morning. Unless there's other things going on physically. And their testosterone rises in the morning. It becomes an issue. Okay? It's a situation. There's a situation, right? And this is something that's going to happen pretty much every day. I mean, depending on his health, depending on where he's at in his age and all of that, this is a situation, right? Okay? And as a woman, it's your job to understand that he is not being disgusting or gross or self-centered or, whatever, because he has a situation daily. Okay? Usually every morning, or whatever his schedule is. Okay? This is just part of a man's makeup. And if you don't believe me, you can research this. I mean, I did. I had 2 boys. But I definitely researched this, and I definitely saw. And once I understood that a man's makeup is different, okay, and that it is part of your job as a woman to not undermine him or make him feel bad for that because he has testosterone. I mean, for me personally, I don't want him to have too much estrogen. I'd rather him have more testosterone. Okay? So, again, we don't want to undermine him and his situations that his testosterone creates. Okay? We don't want to make him feel bad for that, or like, oh, that's all you think about, and blah, 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 blah. No. Okay, so from what I did actually have some notes that I actually did take. What I have heard from most men, things that I've heard, especially when it talks about staying in your feminine energy, what I've heard from men is that they like a woman who is soft in her tone, soft in her speech. Now, we all know that most of us women, especially because of our hormones, or even if you just rub us the wrong way, it don't take much for us to come out of pocket, okay? But there is a time and a place for that, okay? As a rule, coming out of pocket on your man, coming out of that soft tone in front of others is, number one, embarrassing. Number two, it's wrong. And it looks like you are usurping his authority. It looks like disrespect. And it looks unloving. It's unkind. And it looks immature. It actually makes you look bad. Okay? It actually makes you look bad. It's just really not okay for a long-term, if you want a long-term relationship, if you want a long-term loving relationship, then you're going to have to do your part. And this is something that you could even discuss in advance. Like, you know what? Is it okay if I express myself freely when we are at home behind closed doors, or whatever the case? But you can just kind of like, what do they call this? They call this conflict resolution. That's what they call it. This is part of conflict resolution in marriages. Like, you need to discuss these things prior. Okay, prior to actually, before the event happens, okay? But men want that. They want you to be a soft space for him to fall. This is something that I definitely, like I said, I saw this growing up with my mother. I kind of feel like, it is nice when you have a mom in a family life that emulates this. So then it's easy for you to recreate it. You understand. They want you looking beautiful. They want your body looking beautiful. Now, let's get real. You have kids, and we all know we gain weight, our body goes whatever, and it takes a lot to get back. Some people do bounce back. I was not one of them. I felt like I looked like a beach whale. But hey, whatever. Okay, they still want you, basically they want to be able to be attracted to you, right? Throughout, age like fine wine, right? Age like fine wine. That's what they want. Okay, keeping the house clean and pretty. Now, when it comes to the house, let me just say like this. Men, when you bring the feminine energy, it should look like it in the house, right? So if in your mind, just think to yourself, in your mind, think about a boy's, let's say if you were in college or whatever, and you saw a boy's dorm room versus a girl's dorm room. Okay, now if that boy had a mom, you would be able to tell. You could actually see that. She probably came in and probably organize stuff, straighten stuff up, or whatever. But if he was just a regular guy, if he didn't have that, if you would think about a guy's dorm or a guy's apartment or a guy's pad, 9 times out of 10, unless he's older, once he gets older and more mature, and as a guy gets older, whatever, and stabilizes his life, it is going to be a little bit more put together and more reflective of who he is, right? But in general, if you just think about it like a guy and a younger guy in general, his house or his apartment or his dorm versus a girl's, or even a boy's room and a girl, look at the difference, right? What a woman brings to a house is definitely part of the feminine energy that a man wants when he is with you, or when he wants to be with a woman long term, or when he wants to be in a relationship, or when he wants a wife in the house. What he wants is for her to put, usually, not always, but I would say most men that I know, they are wanting that feminine touch in the house. So we all know what that means, right? And if you are not sure, this is where research comes in, right? If you don't know how to decorate, or you're not sure about decorating, or you're not even really into that or whatever, hire somebody else out to do that, or go on Pinterest or whatever. Just find a few things that you like or whatever and then do it. But usually this is not hard. Girls usually tend to be, we tend to easily gravitate towards lights and flowers and candles and fur rugs and all that kind of matchy or whatever, like in general. I mean, I know I did. I definitely gravitated, but some girls are more like that than others. It depends on what kind of environment you grew up in and how safe it was to be yourself. If you didn't grow up in an environment where it was safe to be yourself, then yeah, you might have had a harder time, with that. I'm sorry, guys. I need my lotion. My hands are so dry. It's so cold. It's just too cold. And my hands are dry. But in any case, basically, I know for me personally, if I'm in your house or going to be in your house any length of time, you're gonna know that I was in your house, because I know what I bring. All my friends say that. They say, "Oh, Mel has been here." I put my touch on pretty much everything. And I enjoy that. I love, flowers, and of course, it's like Bath and Body Works, right? We want that in our house. Like, we want the candles, and we want the smell goods and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay. And then maintaining that, keeping the house clean and all of that. And it does, I know that takes time, but you have to get a routine. But a man wants that. Like, he wants you to do that. Most men enjoy when you cook for them. Maybe if you're not a good cook, we have no excuses these days, because you know why? We can go on YouTube and you can learn how to cook. When I was young, of course, when I came up, we just had to do what our mom taught us, like our mom or grandma, whatever, and just practice and, go with it or whatever. Now I can just type in and find a recipe for anything. So, I know it's hard to cook every single day. If you are a stay-at-home wife or mother, these things that I'm talking about are a lot easier, because if the man is providing, and he is providing you that lifestyle and that ability to stay home for you to be able to focus your mind on these types of things, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. And I'm sure most good men, their goal is for that. Their goal or their aim is to kind of provide that for you. Now, some men are not that way. It just depends on how they were raised, and depends on what you attract and what you like. Now, I know for me, I'm not going to say that I desire to be a stay-at-home mom or wife, but with children in particular, I did desire to be able to have the option. Like, I wanted the option and the flexibility to be able to stay at home and not the pressure of having to pay all the bills. That's the providing, right? That's really what his job is for. And these days it does a lot of times, especially depending on where you live. If it's more expensive where you live, it's going to take two incomes. It just does. That's just a reality. But it's nice if you can think about these things prior or in advance. I'm going to give you a good example. When I had my first son, now I delivered both of my babies natural, with no medication whatsoever. I delivered them natural, just deep breathing, and did it. Then I also nursed both of my children. My first son, I nursed him, for, I feel like it was too long, but whatever. I nursed him for a while, but when he first came, and he was our first, my husband, he wanted me home as long as possible to be able to nurse, right? He wanted me to stay home as long as possible. And he went out and found another job to work on Mondays, because he was a barber, and he worked Tuesday through Saturday, and he worked at this construction site to pick up some extra money on Mondays. And this was so I could stay at home and continue to nurse our first son. And I appreciated that about him so much. He knew, though, that he was going to have to pick up the slack in that way if he wanted me to be able to stay home. So he created that space for me to continue to nurture our child. Okay. And that is really where men come in. They have to understand that if you want a soft, feminine, glowy, beautiful, happy woman, okay, mom and all of that, then it's your job to create that space for her to be that way. Now, if she's like me and she has strong ambition to businesses, entrepreneurship, whatever, then she wants the ability and the option and the flexibility to pursue other things in the time. So to be able to do that, like, that is also like, okay, let's see, how do I want to say what I'm trying to say? when a man can do that for a woman where she is free to be herself and to use her creativity as she wants, right? He is creating that so she can be and have a mind that is more free and a mind that is relaxed. A relaxed mind, a calm spirit, where she is not concerned about paying bills and tomfoolery, okay? You don't come home at night, so crazy stuff like that. Or if you're doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing, like, getting drunk, getting high, flirting with other women, cheating on her, or just not paying bill, or gambling, or, all the things that men, that some of these crazy, whatever, things that happen, right? All of those things that women get put through, right? That sometimes women put up with or whatever. I'm not putting up with that. For me personally, I'm out the door. But anyway, it happens. I see it all the time, right? The point is that you can't expect her to just be like happy when you come home. You can't expect her to just be, not mad at you when you come home. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy making. You cannot expect her, if you're going to basically you reap what you sow. Right? So if you're reaping the type of environment where that woman can't respect you, she really can't admire you, she can't trust you to have her best interest at heart, or to have, to create that environment or that space for her to be free to be herself, where she's not worried about you doing those things. If you're not going to do that for her, if you're not going to be dedicated to her and all of these things, right? Like, then don't expect when you come home for her to not be complaining, critical, angry, mad, whatever, okay? Now, I consider it to be her responsibility for however long she decides to stay in that relationship. Me personally, I don't stay in relationships where I feel like I'm not thriving. I'm not going to do it. Now, like I said, I haven't had very many long-term relationships, but I've had 3 longer-term relationships and one that was like a year, okay? That was, that wasn't living in the house and all that kind of stuff. So I haven't had a whole bunch of like experience with moving in with somebody or whatever. I've only been married. My first husband, I met when I was 17 and he passed. Okay. When, I was in my 30s. So it's like, most of my life I was with my husband, and then I was with nobody for 5 years after that. So anyway, I don't have a whole lot of experience, but what I do know is when I felt like I was being, when I felt like I was being disrespected, or like this was an environment that I could not thrive in, I started voicing that in all the different ways that I knew how. Writing it down, talking it out, sending smoke signals, writing it down. Like I said, I have no problem as a female, the way that I was raised or whatever, I have no problem serving my man his plate. I have no problem doing that. He also had no problem serving me my plate on times too. He got it plenty of times. He did that for me. But I can either serve that plate of food to you with a very good attitude, with love and hugs and kisses and lots of nurturing, and okay, and you can get your plate served like that, or you can get your plate served with attitude, or maybe not at all. Okay, now, here's the thing. I do remember in my first marriage, whenever we did something to irritate each other, like basically the rule, we had a little, it was like a cutesy rule. It was like a little thing. When he did something that aggravated me, that he knew that he was in the wrong for, and I'm talking about little things, not big things, but I'm talking about little things. The rule was he had to make it up to me in some type of way. And it would be like, okay, you just, I asked you to do this or whatever, you didn't do it, or whenever he knew it was his bad, like my bad, he knew that, right? It was like, okay, you know what? You have to rub my feet. You got like 15 minutes of feet rubbing time or whatever. Come up with cute little ways to make it up to each other. They even have like little money books for husbands and wives. So it was like little money books, like, okay, I got to pay you this $10 or whatever, but on there is like 10 kisses or whatever it is. It's like cute stuff like that. Like that comes out around Valentine's Day. I see a lot of those little things. They're cute little things, right? But it's kind of a way to kind of help, get past little things, okay? But you can stay in your feminine, okay? Now, for me, since I've been dating, when one thing I can say as a woman who, okay, when you're not married and you're just dating somebody, but this is something that you can absolutely do when you're married to, actually. But I noticed something I've adopted, I would say in the past, 3 years or so. Something I adopted for myself was basically every time I get aggravated with whoever I'm talking to or dating, at the time, every time he does something to me that I either consider to be disrespectful or whatever, and I'm saying he probably knows it too. But every time he does something triggering, oh wait, as ladies, you know what I'm talking about. He does something triggering, and I don't mean disrespectful, we're horribly disrespectful, but I mean just something irritating. Instead of coming out of pocket and going, ah, or screaming at him whenever you see him next or whatever, right? Do something good for yourself. You just earned yourself the right to give yourself 30 minutes of whatever downtime, like I said, whatever extra you think you need. Go to the gym or getting your massage, getting your nails done, just something extra. Go, buy yourself some flowers or whatever, but do something good for yourself, right? Because it's like, you didn't deserve whatever he just did or something he just said or whatever. Okay? Adopt that rule. Take care of yourself. Okay? Because when you are a woman who, if you trust yourself, you love yourself, you take care of yourself, you nurture yourself, you can do for yourself, right? And that man knows that. If he doesn't step up to the plate, he knows you're not going to hang around. Why would a woman who can do all that for herself stay with a man who is not going to treat her correctly? Who is not going to make and create a safe space for her to grow? Okay? And be soft and nurturing and loving like he wants. And he knows. Now, let me talk a little bit about the men, right? Okay. As a man, it's really your job to, these are some of the things that I wrote down, to create that stability. Okay? Create stability. How do you create stability? First of all, financially. Now, I'm not talking about how much you make, okay? Because that is going to be your particular goal. As a man, you decide how much you want to make. If you want to be a 6-figure man, a 3-figure man, a 2-figure man, a 12-figure man, I don't know. If you want to be a millionaire, quadruple, whatever, billionaire, or if you want to be whatever, that's for you to decide, right? But whatever it is that you do decide, be stable. Like, go for that and be stable. Keep a job. Like, be a man who's known for keeping a job, okay? Not lazy. I don't care what you do. Like I said, to each his own. I've said this before in my past videos. Every woman respects different things, wants different things in men, or maybe in what they do. Me personally, I value a hands-on man. I have always my entire life valued a hands-on man, a man that can go out there and hit the hammer, a man that can, like I said, Jesus Christ was a carpenter, a man that can build some things, a man that is just good with his hands, or he knows how to fix things or go out and lift heavy things and do those things. I mean, there's a lot of different types of jobs that are hands-on, that are more hands-on. Now, those type of jobs don't tend to be necessarily the highest paying jobs. It just really depends on what it is that you're doing. But depending on the woman that you have, I mean, every woman is different. I value, and I personally place more value on a man who is stable and who can do things with his hands and who is not afraid to use elbow grease, who is not afraid to get a job and to do anything. I value a man who is not afraid to go out there and dig ditches for his woman. Okay, that's just me personally. I mean, I want a man who is not afraid to go out there and do whatever he needs to do, right, to provide and take care of for his woman or his family. Now, the kind of woman that I am, I'm supportive to that. Whatever that is. Whatever he decides that he wants to do, however he wants to make a living, or however he wants to provide for the family. As a woman, you need to be supportive of that and not belittle him or downgrade him and or make him feel bad for whatever it is he decides to do for work. Especially if you are with a man who is walking in his mission and walking in his whatever he feels God has called him to do. Okay. in particular with that type of a man, you're definitely going to need to be supportive of whatever his goals, spiritually speaking, are. Okay. That's going to be super important for you to support that. Okay. Protecting your woman's heart. Protection is not just physical protection and being willing to take a bullet for your woman. Because, yeah, that is a big deal. But protecting her heart, meaning you are super concerned with her emotional state. The way she, basically, the way she views the world. Like, how she views you. If you are out there looking at other women, watching porn, trying to make her feel bad about, her body or whatever, and just belittling her, disrespecting her, things like that. Okay. You're not thinking about her heart. If you make her cry, basically, if you make your woman cry, and if she's your woman, now, men need to understand, y'all players out there, you think, there's a lot, when you're young, you want to be a player. When I say young, when you have an immature mentality and you want to be a player and you want more than one woman, okay, what you really are is just selfish, okay? Because let's just get real. It is very hard for a man to maintain a woman's heart, one woman's heart, not let that woman cry. It is, how hard it is if he's a man that also still has his mom alive, his sister, if he has a daughter or several children or aunties or whatever. Do you understand now? It's like, you can't make everybody happy. You cannot make everybody happy in your life. But as a man, you can decide to make one woman happy. You can decide one. You can pick one, find one that you like, find one that works with you and make her happy. You can discover what she likes, what she doesn't like. You can study her as far as, her mannerisms and her cycles and things like that. And only be concerned with her heart. Don't let her see you looking at other women and disrespecting her, sleeping around on her, or flirting with her friends, or belittling her, or making her feel some type of way, right? Protecting her heart. Protection is more than just physical protection. It's like most guys understand and come by naturally how to protect physically a woman, or keeping that, like when guys will push you. If I'm walking, many times I've been with guys, I'm walking with them down the sidewalk. If I'm walking on the side of the road where the cars are going by, they'll push me into the end, right? Why? Because they're trying to protect me, right? These are things that guys mostly come by. But emotional speaking, protecting her heart, you have to think about that. Like, not talking to her rough, not screaming at her, also not cursing at her, okay, not belittling her, okay, protecting her heart, emotional security, making sure she knows that you are devoted to her, that you want to stay devoted to her, that she's valuable to her, that you cherish her, that you put her on a pedestal. And not because she doesn't deserve it, or, I'm not saying you just put any woman on a pedestal, you put all women, or you just put her just because she simply decided to open her legs to you, okay? No, it doesn't work like that. If you're a real woman, you understand you need to behave and act in a certain manner if you want to be put on a pedestal, okay? But also, he should do that. If you are a good girl, a good woman, and you have done your best, or whatever, and you come from a good place in your heart to take care of him or whatever, he should put you on a pedestal for that. He should put you on a pedestal. Okay, we are the prize. Okay, as females, we are the prize. We're the gift. We were created for the man as a gift, okay? You understand? We're the gift. We are the prize. He should be taking care of that. And nurture, also protecting and covering us. Okay? So if he thinks he's the prize, if you got a man that thinks he's the prize, that thinks that you need to be going after him or chasing after him, you have a man that's in distorted masculine energy, and you have a man that might have been raised, he needs to do some soul searching, and he probably needs some counseling sessions with some men that have high testosterone or something. he's going to have to do some adjusting. Okay. Now, this can happen a lot of times this happens when you are dealing with a man who was an only child or who was the only boy of the house, things like that. Maybe they were babied a little bit too much or whatever. And usually it doesn't take long for a guy to adjust and realize. But understand what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a guy who is like that, you need to be the type of woman who understands that and either leave him because you're not going to be the prize, or understand that there is a way that you can naturally bring out his masculine side, okay, and get him to start to adjust to where he understands his role and he is naturally wanting to be more of the leader and wanting to create the stability and wanting to provide. It does happen for men usually, and if it didn't happen growing up or because of the way they were raised, the flip will usually happen. And even Jesus Christ, remember, Jesus Christ didn't even get baptized when he was here. Remember, until he was at 30. And so that goes to show you Jesus Christ was perfect, and he was 30 before he got baptized. So my mom used to always say men don't even start to begin to mature. Most times, most men, not all men, but most men don't even start that maturity process until they're in their 30s. Unless you're dealing with a man that was raised more spiritually minded and he's more God oriented, God is going to whip him into shape a little bit faster, okay? Anyway, as a man, you should think about, how are you uplifting her, and are you helping to create peace? It's like most men want peace. They want peace from their woman. They want her to be his peace, but he needs to be her peace too. She can't be peaceful if he's out here acting a fool, right? So both need to be at peace within themselves so they can bring peace to the relationship. And if you know that as a man that you are loyal and you are providing and you are devoted and you are trying to create peace, right? And you're not trying to control her or dominate her. You're not trying to belittle her, criticize her, make her pay for all the bills and come home and cook and clean. Okay, because seriously, that's impossible. I mean, it's impossible because it is a full-time job to take care of a household. It is. Sorry, guys, I was trying to fix this a little bit. It's a full-time job to take care of a household. You can't expect that woman to feel like she can just, that she has to work full-time to help pay for the bills and come home and cook your dinner and clean the house and be in feminine energy and, want to nurture you. No, that's too much outpouring. That's too much going out. That's too much energy going out. Okay, and if you have kids, forget it. It's a wrap, okay? No, you have to discuss and actually, be preemptive with this and discuss who's going to be doing what, basically, in the house, right? Because if you both have to work, if you both do actually have to work, then you need to discuss and create a plan for the house of, so that there can be peace, so that both can feel a sense of peace, okay? I feel like some women do naturally bring peace and do naturally bring feminine energy to the house, to the home, to the relationship, and all of that. And a lot of women, I'm one of them, honestly. I know what my strengths and my weaknesses are. I know what I bring to the relationship, but I also know that I cannot be me and I cannot bring what I bring if I'm not in an environment that's going to foster my creativity and my growth and my calm and peace, right? So once I evaluate a situation with a man or in a relationship, and me, because remember, I'm a little older now, and so I feel like I'm a little bit more mature, but I know what my goal is in the house. I know what my goal and my job, or what I desire to have in the house, right? So if I feel like this man that I'm with is not going to foster that for me, he is not going to bring that, and maybe I, the goal is to figure this out before you get married. Hopefully, that man was being truthful with you before you got married, okay? And hopefully, you got to see the real him. Okay, hopefully you are not dealing with any type of narcissistic energy or a Jekyll and Hyde. Okay, that type of thing. Hopefully you're not dealing with that. But usually, most of the time, you can tell if a man is going to allow you that space, that time that you're going to need to nurture yourself. Women, as women, we have to understand we can create another whole human being in our body. Do you understand what that means and how sensitive that really makes us? And the power that we actually have in relationships and in the home. We can really make or break the energy of the home. However, the man can as well, right? By destroying her. If he destroys her in any way or caps her in any way, I know for me personally, I have to say enough is enough. I have to call it quits. I have to literally say, okay, I've given you enough ample time to fix the situation or to work on it or whatever. I'm not going to continue to put myself in a situation where I know I can't be myself, where I can't be my feminine self, right? Because I know what I like to do, I know how I like to show up in a relationship. But eventually what happens is if certain men don't respect that or don't understand that or they don't create that, they don't value your feminine energy, if they don't value what you bring, your soft tone and your kindness and your nurturing spirit, if they don't value that, they'll just take it and hurt you, right? And what's going to happen is you will end up being burnt out. You will burn yourself out. Your hair will fall out. Your face will look crazy or whatever. Your body will look crazy. You'll gain weight, lose weight or whatever. And the point of the matter is that you will not be able to live your best life. Okay, you will not be living your best life, and it's your responsibility to decide how long you're going to allow a person to keep you in a situation where you're not living your best life. Okay, men want feminine energy, women want masculine energy, and the two together can make for perfect harmony, but you need to be understanding of what that looks like, right? And be encouraging of those roles. Okay, if you want to bring that out in your man or you want to bring that out in your woman, you have to think about your part and your role in that relationship and allowing her the space and the time. And also sleep. Most of us women, I don't know a woman who don't need sleep, okay? We need sleep, and there are times in the month that we need more sleep than other times. And if you got a man who's like, on your back all the time, get up, do this, and he's making you, oh my goodness, or he wakes you up 50 million times a night or whatever, I know for me, I can't do that. Oh, I would rather be single all day, every day. If that means I can't have my sleep. I need my sleep. 6 to 8 hours. Don't try to interrupt my sleep for nothing. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I never will like it. And most women I know don't like it. The only time I sleep that I don't mind, or when my sleep is interrupted that I don't mind, is when it's my children. When it's my children or my babies or little babies, if I got a little baby or whatever, that's the only time. Okay? Because even when I had, in my second marriage, when I had my husband's grandbaby that was with us or whatever, she was just beautiful, and when she was newborn, she did sleep with us. I definitely looked after her just like my own, and I didn't sleep at all because that's just the way it is. It didn't matter. And I remember even before I ever had kids, with my niece, I remember I kept my niece. I think I was the first person to keep my niece Zoe. She was so cute. Oh my goodness, I miss her. Anyway, I remember keeping her. I think she was like 8 weeks old. She was young, definitely under 2 months. She was little. I kept her for a few days. I was like the first one, I think outside of her mother, outside of her grandmother, and I remember instantly all of my maternal instincts kicked in, and it was like the sleeping. Yeah, my sleep got interrupted. I heard every whimper, every cry, every little sound that she makes, and that's just what happens as a mother, right? That's okay. For whatever reason, the way God made us, it's like that's okay. We can be woken up for that. But none of us wants to be woken up for some stupid ridiculousness that your man might be doing or whatever. No. I'd rather have my own room. I need my sleep. Okay. I know for me, some of the things that I like that keep me in my feminine energy is fresh flowers. I love fresh flowers. I will buy my own fresh flowers. I don't need a man. I mean, let me rephrase that. That sounds terrible. Everybody would love a man to buy her flowers. And I think my first husband, I got fresh flowers every week. He had it delivered or to him every single week. He had a standing whatever, where they came and delivered the flowers or whatever. He brought flowers home to me every week, and I love them. I always loved them. He knew I loved them, right? But if I am not with a man, or you don't have a man, or you're not with somebody, or maybe you don't want a man, right? Who knows, whatever. But I know for me, I'll go and buy them myself. I'm not going to sit here and wait for him to buy me flowers. I will buy my own flowers because I like flowers. I like real flowers, and I also like fake flowers too because I like to do flowers. I like flower arranging, And being in my feminine energy, I like to, when I get to put hands on flowers and arranging them and doing my crafts, I have a lot of crafts. And another thing for me personally, I like to have my own space to have crafts, to have my own craft room, to have the space and the time really to do those things that I like to craft. And I like to make baskets, flowers, flower arranging, all that kind of stuff, right? I love that. For me, I love it, and it keeps me in my feminine energy because my creative side gets to come out and flow. And for me, I turn it into a business, but I love it, right? I love it. For me personally, that is definitely something that keeps me in my feminine energy. Another thing is that I like to, and I enjoy to do, to nurture myself is, I love baths. I love taking hot baths. I think most women do. I definitely love candles. And sometimes when let's say I have something on my mind and I need to work it out and I don't want to come home in a certain mindset. One of the things that I do is I like to get lost. This is me personally. I like to get lost in the stores. I'm not necessarily shopping, and really I'm not shopping. Maybe the goal is not to go out and spend money, but I will say there's like an antique store here where I stay that is big. It's very big, and there's a lot of individual booths in there. I love that antique store. And many times they don't notice, but I go in that antique store and I work out my problems because it is so much stuff in that big, it's like a big like warehouse type of place, and it has like rows and rows and rows. And I'm telling you, by the time I leave there, I've worked out whatever it is in my mind that I need to work out for whatever, right? I've worked it out. By the time I leave, it's like could be sometimes hours later, but I feel relieved. For me, that has always been something, like I am a person who can window shop. Absolutely, where you're just walking, and in that process, I'm working things out, right? But that's also nurturing to me. So, I'm just trying to give ideas to some of you ladies of some of the things that I know that I do that nurture myself. The other thing I love to do is I love to go in the backyard barefoot, and definitely grounding. I have practiced grounding. Let's see, meditation, deep breathing, and grounding. I started that. I actually started that when I had my first son. So when I got pregnant the first time and I started learning Lamaze and deep breathing, meditation, and all that kind of stuff, that's when I learned how to do that. And I understood the value of it right away. And then I started practicing it off and on throughout my marriage or whatever, but now just throughout my life, right? Definitely during high stress times, you want to take time to do your deep breathing, your meditation, and also stretching your body, and grounding. I started grounding, I remember when I was in Florida, like I said, around that time, I remember going out specifically to put my feet on the ground after a storm. Anytime that we had an anytime there was a lightning storm, because the ground is more highly charged, and it's a good time to go ahead and do your grounding. Those are things that I definitely do on a regular basis that definitely help me to stay in my feminine energy and to not lash out at whoever. And actually, to be honest with you, these days, officially I'm single. But am not going to even allow myself to get mixed up in relationships with men that are going to test me. You know, if I see that you're continuously testing me and trying me, you know, and bringing me out of my feminine energy, and this is how you are, if this is how you show up as a man, then I'm going to allow you to do you, boo, and be you, boo, okay? You do you over there, and we're not going to be together, okay? Because for me personally, you know, it's not going to work out. And nothing is going to make me stay. There's no money that's going to make me stay. I don't care if I had a kid with you. And I don't care if you have my car, if you have a car. I don't care what assets we share. I don't care about any of that. I'm not going to put myself around and in the space of any man who's going to continuously pull me out of my feminine energy and test me and make me cry or make me upset or make, you know, like do that to me, like get me all riled up. I don't like that. I want peace. I seek peace. I bring peace, right? So once I decide that this man or this person or whatever, whoever it is, if this is just who you are, how you show up as a person, then I'm going to believe that and I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave your space. I just don't have the tolerance at this time in my life. I no longer have the tolerance. And I also don't I don't desire to spend my time allowing myself to be tested by a man in that way. I don't need to be tested again. I've already been put through the fire and tested and refined so many times in my life. I'm not looking to do that anymore. I feel very secure in my relationship with God as far as, you know, where I stand and the sacrifices, the things that I've done for my children, for others or whatever, my love. And I just know that I don't want to, this is not an area of life that I choose to be tested at anymore. I don't want to be tested in this way anymore. So if I feel like you're just the type of man that hasn't evolved yet to a mature state to understand the way you should show up in a relationship, as far as your masculinity, you know, to leading and leading spiritually is a big thing too. I know this is something that I feel like also, again, most men come to later in life, and that's okay as long as they come to it somehow. But you know, and leading in a fair way of being fair with your time, being fair with your energy, understanding how to create peace in that space for me to show up in a feminine way. I just feel like, you know, for me, I'm not, and then this is where your boundaries come in. This is where you have to have boundaries, okay? As a woman, you have to have boundaries. And at some point, you have to be willing to walk away and be okay with it. And so though I feel like a man absolutely adds value, the right man, and one who values me and cherishes me, and one that I can respect and nurture, absolutely is an asset and a benefit to my life. And there's plenty of benefits, okay? There's plenty of benefits that I know that I can't do myself, okay? That I know I would like. Here's the other thing, man. Here's a way that I want you to think about this, right? As a man, if you would love to be able to have the adult playtime with your female on a daily basis, if you want that adult playtime, whatever that is, okay, we know what that is, but let's just say, then think about how you talk to her during the day. Think about what you are doing, the energy you're bringing, if you're checking in on her, if you're, that's considered something for that woman to feel like she can be open to do that with you every day. She needs to feel not used, not abused in any way, shape, or form. Think about what you have done yourself to prepare the bed. to be made, right? And I'm talking about during the day. You know, my first husband, he read a book. This was so cute. I remember, this is so cute. We were young too, so I found this book at the barbershop. I didn't know he bought it, but he bought it and read it. I it was so cute. He had it hidden in the shop, but it was one called Sex Begins in the Kitchen. I think it was Sex begins in the kitchen, or begins at breakfast, something like that. Anyway, the point of the book was that men needed to understand that women need to be nurtured and felt safe during the day, and treated, the right way, to feel like she would be open and receptive to her man at night, right? Now, that is just something I'm putting out there because, like I said, when you naturally are with someone who you naturally are compatible with, there is a huge difference to when you're trying to make something fit when it doesn't fit. So when you're trying to make a man show up for you and you have to feel like you have to make him, you're going to burn out. You're just going to burn out. Ladies, you're going to burn out. And as a man, if you're over here trying to force your woman into submission in some sort of way, there's something going on and going wrong with the compatibility. There's something going on with there's a lack of compatibility somewhere, and it's kind of one of those things that it's really sometimes, you have to decide where you draw the line. Okay, you just have to decide where you draw the line. Anyway, okay guys, this video has taken way too long, and I'm probably going to end up touching on this. I actually have touched on some of this on a prior video that I have uploaded, talked about, I think I named it creating emotional safety or emotional stability, something like that. This is a big thing. Honestly, this can really make or break your relationship, and this is the truth. This is why men have responded back to me saying that this is something that they want. Remember that if you're already in a family unit, remember that your husband wants to take the lead, and he has a vision for his family, and he has goals and things that he wants, maybe financially, and also maybe spiritually or whatever, right? Give him time to voice his plan, and then it's your job to support him. Ask him how you can be supportive in that plan. Remember not to argue in front of your children, okay? Because that makes you look like you're not on the same page, you're not on the same team. And remember, when you are in public, especially when you're in front of others, that the two of you really should be partners. The two of you really should be partners. Like, you should be on the same team, okay? Like, it should come across as if you're on the same team, and that you're on each other's side, that you got each other's back. And remember not to go against your husband secretly. I'm not going to get into biblical terms and things like that, but just remember not to do that. Don't do it in your heart either. Most men desire respect. Most men desire respect even more than they desire love. And I had to come to learn that even myself when there's a book that I read, and I'll talk about that in another video, but respect is really important, really on both sides. I think most women, everybody wants respect. Most women want to be loved more, and most men want to be respected more. Being respectful, remember what that means. Is staying soft, being soft in your tone and your manner of speech, not cursing or screaming, yelling, and coming out crazy, not going against your husband or going against, his plan or his vision for your family and your life. And especially remember that in front of others, like, it is like no man wants to be embarrassed. Okay. So keep that in mind. Remember to always, be respectful of each other's energy and of each other's time, and, of each other's, desires of how you want to run that household. Okay. Anyway, this went on way too long, and I'm sorry for it going on so long, but I appreciate you guys allow me to getting my words out and my thoughts out. And I have plenty more videos to come. Bye.